Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to talk just a little bit about, from a strategy point of view, of why we've put this together, and ultimately what it means for you. So the first thing we know is that about $30 billion was done between about 2,000 different platforms in this market channel in 2018. Now we understand, based on the consensus of different futurists, economists, people who are in the know, they believe that the crowdfunding space will grow by a factor of 7 to 10x. It's about 200 to 300 billion in about the next 5 to 7 years. So the question is, what are you going to do about that? How are you going to take part in that? And looking at that and understanding of where this was going, that's one of the reasons why we put together FundMe 247. So looking at that, we looked at all the different platforms out there. And what we wanted to do from a strategy point of view is we wanted to have something that everybody had the opportunity to afford. So whether it's the $58 for both platforms or the $29 for the for the FundMe, at the end of the day, pretty much whether you're a person who's just starting out, maybe you're an individual who's just come out of school and you got student debt that you need to pay off, whatever your funding needs are, we have the ability between those two platforms to get those contributions to you, and you have the ability to be able to afford one time out of pocket a $29 or a $58 platform fee to be able to start your contributions. That just made a lot of sense. So that's the first thing. The second thing, we realized that there's 2.5 billion people in the world who are unbanked. They don't necessarily trust their government or the banks, but they have gumption, they have smartphones, they just don't have an opportunity to put themselves or their families or their community in a position to win. So when you look at the $58 or the $29, depending upon, what you can specifically do economically, that is something that everybody has an opportunity to do. So now we're truly global in scope. So that's something that's very, very different than a lot of different companies out there, because everybody can do this. Now, the next thing we decided to do is we decided to really make everybody the same. Now, that's not like that in other crowdfunding deals. We don't allow you to do multiple positions. Everybody gets one position in the co-op. Number two, you can't put yourself in a position because you have extra money to go and fund multiple tiers like other different crowdfunding opportunities out there. That's very, very different. And the reason why we did that is we wanted to take the human element of greed out of this. We wanted every single person, irrespective of their religion, irrespective of their gender, irrespective of their educational level, their socioeconomic status, to start at the very same level and put themselves in a position to be able to grow this organically through their community, because this is a true peer-to-peer social sharing platform comparatively to everything else out there. So when you take a look at FundMe, the FundMe plan is a 2-bicycler. Now there's pros and cons with a 2-bicycler. The pros is that, man, it's really, really simple. Refer a couple people, get into a position to have them refer a couple people. Now you're going from silver to gold because you got your first two, silver contributors in, and you're off to the races. And then the automation takes part, and it does everything from there. Now, the challenges with that is the fact that if you're a leader and if you're used to building large organizations, the biggest challenge with that is that you're only getting paid on a couple levels. So even though the money can come in, or the contributions, forgive me, can come in fast and furious based on the team you're building, that's great. However, what happens is once you start getting past, 2 levels, now you're in a position where the contributions aren't coming in because it's a 2-bicycler. It only pays on 2 levels. Now there is some compression and stuff that happens, and there's different instances depending upon the activity or inactivity of individuals that you can have people who are in depth, who are ultimately contributing to your success tiers at that point. However, that doesn't happen all the time. So when you take a look at what's out there, the different platforms, the challenge with a lot of the cyclers out there, whether it's a 2 or a 3 level cycler, is the fact that, you know, leaders tend to come in, they get what they get, and then at that point, after 3, 6, 9, 12 months, they tend to move on to the next shiny object. Well, looking at the fact that 5 years down the road, this could be a 7 or 10x, I don't think it would behoove us from an infrastructural point of view to put something together that didn't have the potential and the opportunity to be able to do a 5 to 7 minimum year run rate based on the fact that, you know, we've got a 7 to 10xer in the process of happening. That just doesn't make economic sense. It would be foolhardy for us to just have one specific type of coded opportunity for you. So that's why we came out with the Infinity Plan. Now, the Infinity Plan gives you the ability as an individual, maybe who's never built something before, or as a leader who's built large organizations before, to come in, and now you have the opportunity to be able to get paid contributions ultimately to infinity, basically off your whole team. So let me talk a little bit about the strategy or the syncing of two, or the symbiotic relationship of the FundMe and the FundMe to Infinity plan. Now, the FundMe plan's great, you know, quick, 2, 2, 2, get your 2. Now, the cool thing with the FundMe plan is you have to get 2 in order to go gold. Now, this is the question that you have to ask yourself if you're seeing this for the first time. Do you want to put yourself in a position that if you're going to spend time doing something away from your family, and it's going to cost you, in this case, say $29 for the FundMe plan, do you only want to be in a position to make contributions off a growing team that's only 2 levels deep? Or do you want to ante up a little bit, throw an extra $29 for the Infinity plan, and now have the FundMe plan getting paid, which is one income stream, and then have the Infinity plan paying you off the rest of your group to infinity? Now, I would think every individual who's sitting here with any instance of logic, whether you have the ability to, I'm pretty sure everybody's going to say, well, Jeepers Creepers, Russ, I'm going to, I can't believe I said Jeepers Creepers, but they're going to go, man, of course I'm going to come in at $58 and do it so that we do both. So then from a strategy point of view, if you're coming in at 58, how do we get you paid? And this is the most important thing you have to remember. This is a one-time out-of-pocket opportunity. And the reason it is because we made everything super, super simple, exceedingly simple for you to be able to do a little bit of work and succeed. So what does that mean? It simply means this, is that if you're going to come in at the Infinity plan because you want to get paid to infinity, it just makes sense based on what's happening, in this market channel, then of course you're going to come in at 58. And what are you going to do when you're talking to other people and sharing this with other people? Hey man, and the share in this is really simple. It's amazing. It's just simply, hey, do you have any projects that need funding in 2019? Have you thought about any projects that are near and dear to your heart that need funding in 2019? Hey, Russ, that's kind of an interesting statement. What do you need? What do you mean by that? Well, I just found something that's just blown my mind. It's innovative. It's fully automated. It's a one-time out of pocket. It's basically nothing to get started and launched. You got to check this video out. That would be the extent of what I say to get people interested when I'm sharing FundMe 247 with them. That's it. It's just that simple, nothing else. I don't say anything else. Then I be quiet and let them talk a bit, and then I send them the link, and then at that point I do a 3-way call to follow up with them. But looking at that, if you do that and you make a list and you have at least 2 people who come on board with you, look at what happens. You have 2 people coming in at $58 for the FundMe Infinity plan, and all of a sudden, because you have 2 based on the coded contributions, and this is how it works. Now, out of the $29 portion of the Infinity plan, up to $28 is paid back. What the co-op does is they pay back $7, so 28 divided by 4 is $7 a week. $5 out of the $7 is what we call a coded contribution, and then $2 would be based on the 20 or 40% override on the $5. So basically what happens is when you put in 2 people, so all you need to do is focus. Okay, well, the FundMe plan, I got to put in 2. So why don't I put in 2 in the Infinity plan? Here we go. And all of a sudden I'm making $43. Now remember, every 28 days, this platform will go into your wallet, not into your credit card, but into your wallet, and it will automatically debit $29 for the platform fee, for that month. But look at, you just went out and got 2. Because you got 2, you got $43 there. So you're left with an extra 14 bucks sitting there in your wallet. Okay, well, that's great. You just put 2 people in. But this is the cool thing, is you also put 2 people into the FundMe plan, and you're going to get $12.50 times 2 from those contributions, which is another $25. So you're sitting there with $25 plus your 14. And even if you just sat there and did nothing at that point, the next month you're going to be in a position where it's automatically paid. Now, if your people who came in at 2 are doing the same thing and helping 2 out, you know what's going to happen? Month after month after month, quarter after quarter, all of your fees are always going to be paid. This is truly the simplest thing that you're ever going to do, so that you don't ever have to be in a position to pay anything out of your pocket again. It's very, very important. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly go to the 4 here, and then I'll get into some questions. If you do have questions, please write them down. Okay, now the reason I'm putting the referrals average 4 in here is the social component, or the peer-to-peer sharing of the actual coded contribution. So what happens is this: the computer is going to go in, and it's going to find the fact that the first 2 people who paid for the Infinity plan, you're always going to be in a position, like, you know, I would think that, I don't know if you ever watched Star Trek, but I think that in Star Trek, when they go to a different world, there's a kind of a golden rule they have. Don't mess with that society. That would be the thing that's the most encoded into the Star Trek universe. When we go to a planet that they haven't seen a spaceship, let's not show our spaceship or any crazy stuff. Well, that's what we've done with the coding for this. And our prime, I just called the prime directive. Our prime directive at FundMe 247, thank you, Gene Roddenberry, is the fact that if you get 2, all your stuff is paid for. Remember that. You get 2, all your stuff is paid for. Look at the name we have, FundMe 247. 2x2 cycler, 2 helps you to go gold, 2 brings you everything you want to do, rinse and repeat, like Joe says. What's the 4? 4 does a couple things for you. Number 1, it lets you be in a position to get paid on the coded contributions of your personals, and some of your personals as the sharing component kicks in. Once you have more than 2, it allows you to get paid to infinity. It also gives you the 20% match. So the question is, if you're sitting there and you're helping someone out and they get their 2 and stuff like that, I think it would make sense for you to call them and say, hey, you know, you got 2. Now let's start making you know, contributions to infinity. Okay, how do I do that? Well, okay, well, let's get your name list. Let me help you get 2 more. Boom. You help them get 2 more. Well, what are you going to do with your people? I think if you did that with your people, you're going to teach your people's people to do that again. So what happens is you're helping everybody get put in a position where they're all getting their platforms for free. Because if that is the basis of this, and everybody's getting their platforms for free, who's going to stop? No one. It's illogical for them to stop, because all of their stuff is always paid for, because they did the minimum, which is just get 2. Now let's just do a little bit more than the minimum. FundMe 2.4. 4 is the 20% match, and then of course 7 is the 40% match. But taking a look at this, you know, $163 a month. Now that might not mean a lot to you, but remember, you're getting paid in the FundMe plan too, and the FundMe plan's cranking along because you're teaching everybody not just to get 2, but to get 4. So what you're doing is you're creating a business culture from day 1, not to do necessarily the minimums just to squeak by. What you're doing is you're teaching people that if you get 4 people, you can make in contributions to infinity. Plus what happens is you're in a position that the FundMe plan, that 2x cycler, has way more spillover in it. When there's more spillover in that 2x cycler, what's going to happen? People are going to get more excited about what's going on. So I hope you guys really understand that. And then of course in here, I'm going to change this to 8. I just like whole numbers. Of course, 8's 1 more than 7. And then here is the $500 unit that Joe was talking about, $500 a month. Now, if you want to get a little bit crazy, just click on here and you go down 4 or 5 levels, you know, then you start to be in a position, you know, and you go here, well, what about, what if I put 12 people in, you know, less than, you know, just 4,000 people, 118,000 a month. So the whole goal for you is to go into this calculator and to start figuring out what your career path is and the career path of your team is, and start to build that out, because that's ultimately, at the end of the day, that's up to you on what you want to do. Now, let me just teach you one more thing in how the full social sharing component happens here. So let's just do this to one level. Okay, so let's say you go out and you personally put in 20 people at $58. We've got people put in over 200 personals. But let's say you go, okay, I'm going to do that this month. I'm going to put in, this isn't hard. It's 58 bucks. I'm going to go out and make a list of about 200 or 300 people and attack it and get it done. So you put in 20 people. Well, what's going to happen is you're going to receive the coded bonus off of 18 out of those 20 people. 2 of those people, what's going to happen is they're going to be coded to the individual above you who is in Infinity, who's also Infinity coded. So that's the social sharing component, is that each month, once you have more than 2, and this is why the Infinity plan works so well if you get 4, because what's going to happen is 2, you're going to get paid off. The other 2 you're going to share. Now, some people go to me and go, Russ, oh my gosh, what are you saying? Are you saying that I'm going to share? I'm going to share $5 or $7 for that week to the person who brought me into this, who cared enough about me to tell me about how awesome this is? I actually got to share $7 with them. And it's like, yes, you're going to share it with 2 people every single week. But let's put it this way. Let's not trip over pennies when we've got $100 bills of contributions falling on our head out of the sky. And this is how this works. So you put in 20, and what's going to happen is every week for 7 days, we're going to share just 2 of those people. It'll never be the same people. It'll always be different people who are shared to the individual who's coded as Infinity above you. Now watch what happens here. Now, let's not trip over pennies when we got $100 bills slapping us in the face. And this is the difference here. And this is why this is the best compensation plan I've ever seen. Okay, boom, level 2. Now, if we're teaching a culture of 4, please teach a culture of 4. What's from a strategy point of view? What happens is this. You're teaching all of your 20 to go out there and do what? Guys, get the Infinity, get your 4 people. Now, when they get 4 people, what's going to happen? Well, they're all going to have their platform paid for because they're going to get paid in their first 2. And what's going to happen is their other 2 people are going to do what? They're going to be coded for the next 7 days up to you. And it switches. So every week, every 7 days, 7 days after 7 days after 7 days, there's always 2 people who've paid for the monthly platform of all of your personals who are going to be coded too. So now you're not getting paid on 18, you're actually getting a pass up of 36 more people coded to you. That's insane. That's how this goes. Look at this. You got 20 people, you've put in 4, you're only 2 levels deep, you got 100 people on your team. Very, very respectable for a lot of leaders to do this, and boom, you're making $1,500 a month. The cool thing with this, there's not a $2,500 or a $10,000 buy-in where most of the money's coming in off a front-end load. This is just everybody doing just a little bit. And the coolest thing, most people, it's coming out of their commissions in their wallet. Well, what happens on the 3rd level? So let's say you duplicate this. You teach 18, you teach all of your 20 people, to get 4, and you teach them on the next level to do what? To get 4 as well. You notice the coded members keeps going, and this is where the money's coming from, not just the 40% match, but look at the coded bonus. Why is 4 so important? It's because you're always going to be in a position where 2 people are going to be passed up to you for a 7-day period of time. Man, if you guys just understand this concept of social sharing, you know what it means? It means that some of you who've never built large organizations before, but you know people who do, and let's say you get them in and you personally share with this, or maybe you share this with someone who shares this with an absolute whale, a monster, a Goomba, a big, huge business builder. You know what happens? You get to partake in that business builder's contributions, because they're going to ultimately be shared up to you, and 2 of each of those individuals, after 2 people who were enrolled by each of their personals, are going to be shared up to you now. So now we have a social sharing component that doesn't exist anywhere else in the whole market channel, not only of crowdfunding, but even in home-based business. This is totally proprietary to us. No one else has it, and this is absolutely unequivocally the best payout and the best social sharing component based on your work ethic that I've ever seen in 20 years of developing compensation plans and behavioral patterns for home-based businesses over a 20-year career. This is one of the reasons why I do this. I love this infinity plan. And if you just understand this, stop tripping over pennies because I've got to give up my person for $5 for a week. Who cares? Go put in a bunch of people in width, help them duplicate and get their 4. Now you're getting double of what you were getting before. Help their 4 get 4. Now you're getting another double. Help them get 4. Now you're getting another double. Do you see the power of leverage of this contribution plan? It's absolutely staggering. And the best thing is this, is when you're sharing your people to someone else, you know what happens? You still get the 20 and the 40% match. You don't lose off of that. You always get the 20 and 40% match. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time going through that with you today. Sorry, my voice has been cracking. It's been interesting.